respect each other's mental space. If you ever need me, just call. I'ma come running, give it my all. Love is love, God wins. Keep your vibrations high and watch how your blessings.
And rising, namaste, ashe, salutation, shalom, peace, peace, peace. Hope all is well with everyone out there. Let me check this camera view on YouTube, see if it's decent. Okay. I mean, I think that's a good angle over there. Cause I got a bunch of stuff on the desk and the monitor and stuff, so I'm gonna just keep the camera over there. Hope everybody's doing great out there. Today we're going to talk about Candace Owens. So the lesson is going to be in operation of like what's going on now, how you can point it out, how you can see it happening now. So we're going to explain to you spiritually and globally what's going on and how it's connected to the internet, how it's connected to social media, how it's connected to certain individuals online, so on and so forth. So we're going to put all of it together for you to show you how it could be affecting you right now in a sense of, you know, what we watch, propaganda, how they push stuff in the media, so on and so forth. So we're going to, as always, we're going to play one of the songs, you know, and then we're going to get into the lesson. We got some clips, we got some stuff to add. So, you know, hope you guys enjoy the show. Love is love. Namaste, ashe, salutation, shalom.
We've been journeying in the wrong direction this whole time. We've been journeying outside of ourselves. Why?
Rough to wise, talk to him.
It's been a long time on here pushing out knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Maybe this is the year right here. Energy. Go within. There's something inside of you.
We got to do better collectively, you know?
Right? Energy. Go within. There's something inside of you.
We got to do better collectively, you know?
You know, the first stage is realizing that you are. That's the first
realize
step.
That you
confront yourself.
Right?
Realizing that you are energy. It's been a long time on here pushing out knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. They can't put negative notions on us. Think about it. Great things is happening, whether they want to believe it or not. Maybe this is the year right here. This is the year for it right here. Right? Energy. Go within. There's something inside of you.
We gotta do better collectively, you know?
Go within. There's something inside of you.
We gotta do better collectively, you know?
One's image of oneself should be greater than reality. Don't let nobody tell you that you ain't great, because you are.
Rough to wise.
Energy.
Hey. So let's get into this. So we're gonna listen to this. I'm a pause at certain points because there's certain things that I want to point out during this whole thing of what they're saying. But I want you guys to listen real close to what he's saying. I want you to listen real close to what he's saying, and I'll break it down. But let's listen to the speech that he's given.
To enemies from outside, we fight terror tunnels of Hamas, we fight the ballistic missiles of Iran. But today, I look at the West, our greatest ally, and I see a new enemy rising from within. I am speaking of the poison being sold to the American people as patriotism. I'm speaking of the intellectual vandalism of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens.
How is it intellectual vandalism? I want you guys to listen to this. Intellectual vandalism. right? If they're using their own intelligence, how are they vandalizing their own intelligence? How are they vandalizing someone else's intellectual? It can't, this does not make sense. But what I want y'all to really listen to is he, see, the one thing that I like about what Candace Owens is doing right now, she's making them expose their self. They're exposing that they're against wokeness, right? So they're exposing that this whole thing, this whole social media thing, this whole thing where they want against conspiracy theorists and all of that stuff, they're exposing that they are against wokeness. Listen, Candace Owens put, she got her name put on the list too, but listen to what he exposed.
Speaker, let us be clear about what this is. They claim to fight the woke left.
Did you hear what he said? They claim to fight the woke left. So, you know, everybody that's on social media that's saying like stay woke, you know, everybody that's saying like, oh, we woke up. This is all part of the ascension. This is all part of spirituality. So when they're using the term woke, but they're putting spirituality in that group. New age spirituality is in that woke group. And we're on social media. So if we're on social media, then that means they're trying to find us on social media to what? Target us, tear us down, so on and so forth, right? Gang stalk, cyber stalk, whatever you want to call it. Pay attention, listen.
They are no different than the woke left.
The woke left
tears down the statues of Thomas Jefferson. Tucker Carlson tears down the legacy of Winston Churchill. The radical left says Western civilization is evil. Candace Owens says the roots of our faith are demonic. It is the same sickness. It is the same moral relativism. It is the same hatred of the West dressed up in a different costume.
Yes, to be clear, that is dangerous.
Do you see that? You see that? And she right. This is dangerous because this puts you in a physical fight, right? This ain't just a word battle now. This ain't battling words, right? He's saying that we need to take these people out the same way they're going after woke, right? And we're going to get into this in today's lesson. You know, how they target people, how all of this is a social experiment, you know, global social experiment. We're going to get into all of that in just a minute. But I want you to finish listening to Candace Owens.
Yes, the Likud party, and I was quite literally, somebody was plotting my murder. Actually, a year from the date that Charlie was murdered on September 10th, someone was plotting my murder and got discovered, and that's still making its way through the courts. These people are calling for violence. That's the implicit threat here. They're all growing increasingly more radical, and they're feeling threatened by speech, which is why I implore all of you, which I see that you are, which is why they feel threatened, to continue to use it and to recognize these people are incredibly dangerous. They are very dangerous. When a person is unwilling to say, here is what I did wrong, especially when that person has murdered tens of thousands of children, what they're doing down in Venezuela, Argentina, when they say the issue is people recognizing what they're doing. Argentina, they are tweeting. I mean, they are in the streets shouting against Zionism. And we're supposed to believe it's because everyone just hates Jews, everyone hates God's chosen people, or because you can no longer convince people that you are murdering, stealing, plundering in the name of the Lord. I think it's the latter, but these people are dangerous. Okay, if anything happens to Tucker Carlson or me, you obviously know that Israel was involved. Obviously, that is unbelievably apparent in their record.
And what did Dave Chappelle say on his show? What did Dave Chappelle say? Dave Chappelle said, if he said we got to come up with a cold word so y'all know when they got me, right? And he said that cold word is I stand with Israel. Huh? And she's saying this now, right? And the lesson that we did yesterday was talking about what's going on in the Middle East and how this group, elite group, is coming out of the Middle East, so on and so forth. We already know that Trump put himself there because he created a coalition over there where he's the CEO of a coalition over there that's aimed for a longevity of peace. And then he turns around and starts going after oil, Venezuela's oil to be exact, right? Which cuts off Cuba because Cuba, under so many sanctions, they have limited resources. So the resources that they were getting from Venezuela for oil, that's probably like one of their last resources for oil, or, you know, close to it, right? Not only that, Russia also probably was getting oil from Venezuela due to the sanctions that's on them, right? So he's using the sanctions, but they're laughing and mocking the sanctions because they're using other outlets for transport, right? So he's cutting off that, right? So now he's got Venezuela, right? Now he's got Greenland, or he's going after Greenland, right? This takes that, right? This is covering all the borders to protect America if something do jump off. We don't want China in Greenland. We don't want Russia in Greenland, so on and so forth, right? So you see the measures that they're taking to protect what it is that they're doing. But this is for when he's out of office. This has nothing to do with America. He's using the powers that he have right now to secure whatever seat he is creating for himself in the Middle East. Do y'all not see that? He's going to use his terms here to create whatever it is that he's building over there out of office, right? So he's using all the resources, changing up what we are. We are no longer the Department of Defense. Now we're Department of War. And if we're the Department of War, guess what we do? We got to go out there and what? Show that we are Department of War. Because it's about wins and losses. It's about ego and pride. But listen to what she says.
They're name checking us. They're calling us on stage. They're sending their goons out to harass us because we believe in America first, and that we should stop getting involved in their interests, and that it is unacceptable, frankly, that our government gives more flack to Tucker Carlson, our government representatives give more flack to Tucker Carlson than they did to Jeffrey Epstein. We can't even protect the nation's most innocent. How do we even have a government?
We are used to enemies from outside. We fight terror tunnels of Hamas. We fight the ballistic missiles of Iran. But today, I look at the West, our greatest ally, and I see a new enemy rising from within. I am speaking of a poison being sold to the American people as patriotism. I'm speaking of the intellect.
All right, let's get into today's lesson. It has everything to do with everything right now that's going on. All right. So let me make sure we good on the other platforms. Gotta make sure we're still good. This might be one of the only platforms that will allow certain variations of conversation. But, you know, we use that. Greatest of our abilities. Okay. So now, as you know, there might be different variations of this, but let's look at how they work on this individually, like, you know, because certain individuals are targeted and you might not know, or you might not understand it. What you're going to say is that person is crazy. Ain't no way this is happening. Ain't no way to, it's a shadow operation, da 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 da. But we're all seeing this nowadays. Our eyes are more open to this than anything, that something is going on, right? When you look into the black sun or the operation of the black sun, once you start studying like the black sun and what is the black sun operates on intentions. Okay. So they have been studying different variations of patterns or waves that has been going out into space, and they've been monitoring what comes back, so on and so forth. So they found out that the rays that the sun is actually pushing out is responding to another frequency that's coming from the other side of our planet. And this is the operation of the black sun. So the black sun operates on intent. It pushes a signal out, and then the sun gets that signal and then sends a signal back for the operation of this planet, right? Because that's why it says, though a man thinketh, so shall it be. Because the black sun operates on our intentions and our thoughts, and then it pushes it out to the sun. Then the sun sends a signal back that puts the planet in operation of that. So if we're in the operation of Mars, war, pestilence, whatever it is, right? We can change this by changing our intent. If we put our intent on peace, then the operation of the black sun will push off a signal that will push off a signal back that will show an operation of peace, right? But that's not what we're doing. We're pushing out anger, rage, jealousy, so on and so forth, because these are the things that we built with inside of our vessel. These are things that we installed inside of ourselves that build the house of ego, pride, so on and so forth. So let's take a listen for a second, and then we'll have some more discussion on it.
These covert-directed energy weapons are used secretly and silently to harass people across the world. Many are loyal Americans, in which the electronic harassment strangle their businesses and to which others gain control of their assets. Targeted individuals, or TIs as they call themselves, warn that so long as these weapons technologies remain classified, responsible government and law enforcement agencies cannot protect them and other Americans, families, and businesses from these threats. 1. Targeted individuals as test subjects. These unconscious groups being manipulated as pawns in the spiritual warfare games are being used as distractions while they plug the groupthink reality bubbles into AI weapons designed as the surveillance system of the mind control hive net. This sinister project was intended for all of humanity during this phase of global reset, through installing the techno-totalitarianism in order to finally gain some ground in the utter destruction of free thinking and human freedoms in Western culture. The AI quantum supercomputer network was gradually built upon the mental mapping of the collective brain neural links of those groups who were unethically used as test subjects in the targeted individual community over the last 20 years. AI network of BrainNet. Primarily, the Black Sun groups have been experimenting on humanity for many years with an assortment of artificial intelligence and black box quantum computing technologies for the purpose of moving the collective consciousness towards AI-controlled groupthink, which is similar to connecting human brains to the internet. This system is referred to as the brain net or hive net. The NAA want to connect all human brains to artificial intelligence systems as the means of total and complete human consciousness enslavement, in order to monitor and manipulate all electromagnetic activity of the human brain to fully collect the data for the purpose of controlling the timelines. People that have been identified as targeted individuals are the first waves of humans being secretly experimented upon for testing out this AI surveillance system, by using an assortment of automated SRA methods for subjugating group consciousness via remote device or satellite. The planned expansion of this AI system through the reset into techno-totalitarianism is to eventually connect every living human brain to artificial intelligence networks that build out complex simulations of the entire genetic library on the Earth.
Now, if that's not explaining to you up to date what's happening, right? With the hive net, with the group consciousness. See, all of us are coming into an understanding of a collective consciousness that we are connected to a group of people. Now, you might be on the internet looking for your group of people within some type of ancestral idea, within some type of bloodline, within some type of family, village, or whatever titles that your mind is conjuring up for this ascension process, for this recollection of a higher consciousness. That's basically your conscious is connected to a multitude of people down here, right? This is how they came up with the internet. As above, so below. They call it the internet what it really is an Ethernet. So the Ethernet connects us all to creation, right? They created the internet as a replica of the Ethernet, right? So now they're using that duality of the internet to mess with the Ethernet, right? Now, we can do the same thing. We can use technology as a way to broadcast positivity, as a way to broadcast unity, as a way to broadcast love. But we're not doing that. And if we are doing that, it's probably being suppressed to a higher level. You know what I mean? Uh, you know, your live is ineligible. Yeah, I figured it would be ineligible because y'all keep on flagging the damn page just for conversation. Visual restriction 10 minutes. Okay, so he gave me a 10-minute pause. Yeah, of course, of course. Somebody's probably spamming my page. I get it. I get it. Is what happens, is what you do, you know. We get it. So you know, you're watching this happen. You're watching certain individuals, and they're doing this through assassination of character online. So they're using this as a way to assassinate their character, the same way they're doing with the elites. When you see the propaganda that's going on with Jay-Z, when you see the stuff that's going on with Puffy, when you see the stuff that's going on with some of these other characters, and you're going to see more and more of it. This is a way to get access to their assets, right? So once you do all of this, you're getting access to their asset. This is a way of like basically all the things that they let them get away with. Now, boom, you reveal the things that they let them get away with, and then you after you do that, then you after you do all of that, then you're in control of their assets. Sorry, I had to put in an appeal on TikTok. You know, TikTok restrictions is crazy. And like I said, this is one of the apps that they probably have, you know, a higher level of control over as far as the content, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to stop certain variations of conversations from being pushed out there. So they don't want these intellectual conversations being pushed out there that's teaching people about what's going on. Now, they say they want us to use technology to teach people, but just not this way. They don't want you to know about spiritual warfare and how this is actually happening and how they're using AI as a way to manipulate, right? So we're going to get into this today, and this probably won't stay up long, but you guys might want to watch it while it's up, right? So internet, hive mind, net, and surveillance, right? This is how you would, you know, keep an eye on a group, right? Like I said, when we were at the farm, you notice that Freeman went live on Facebook. You know what I mean? So that's why he went live, because these are different variations of ways that they are using this for the individuals that they are targeting, right? And at the time, you know, I thought like, man, this is crazy. Ain't no way, so on and so forth. But the more I dig into this, the more I see like, damn, so this is how they're doing it. They're targeting individuals, right? Creating a scenario, pulling them to the spot where they want them, and then creating a scene, and then putting it on them, right? Because I thought it was ironic. Like, I was like, why is he setting it up to make it look like someone's stealing from him? Why is he taking his golf cart somewhere and saying that someone, you know, took his keys to his golf cart? Why is he, you know, parking the truck, making it look like the truck was crashed into the garage building? And that's why I kept on saying, record this, get all of this on recording, because something's not right here, right? But I digress, right? We're looking at this on a global scale. So we're looking at this bigger. It's not about me as an individual, it's about the collective, right? So I as a watchtower, I as a light being, I am required to at least let the world know what's going on, right? This is how you get that what you call once as a watchtower, if you look it up in Ezekiel, it'll tell you about watchtowers in Ezekiel, right? And it'll tell you, like, if you look it up, watchtowers in Ezekiel, basically the blood is not on my hands if I let you know. Like, if I let you know that there's danger up ahead and you still walk into that danger, then I'm clear spiritually. I'm clear because I did my job as a watchtower. I let you know what it was. You get what I'm saying? So that's all I'm required to do. And that's all I'm doing is letting the world know what it is that's going on. All right. So let's take a listen to some more and let's talk about it. If you want to come up in the box, come up in the box. But, let's talk about it. I think open discussion should be had on this. A lot of stuff is happening right now, especially over on TikTok. When you look at certain people being pushed to unalive themselves, they're allowing a certain variations of conversations to take place. Whereas though on other continents, you can't even talk, you can't even use certain variations of words, right? So we're watching this same thing being placed, and we have freedom of speech. So we should be allowed to speak and talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about, but somehow it's the latter. But let's get into this. Let's keep on trying to push knowledge and wisdom out there and give an understanding in real time of what's going on. So I want to pull you up in real time and what's going on. So your spirit and your carnal mind can be aligned in what's going on, right? So you can observe in the carnal what's taking place, and then you have a spiritual assessment, right? This is where spiritual discernment comes in, right? So I want to help build your discernment, okay?
Internet Hive Net for surveillance. Current examples of the reset are being made through the intended operation of using the Internet Hive Net for global surveillance, data collection, mind mapping, economic restructuring, and facial recognition systems that are designed to be fully functional within the complex infrastructure build out of the Internet of Things and smart cities by 2030. This wish list plan for technocratic totalitarianism supplies an unlimited range of possibilities for the controllers to manipulate the data in these AI transmissions for the purpose of implanting thoughts, eliminating dissenters, and gaining complete control over human brains, essentially creating a synthetic hive mind and compliant population. With the ongoing progression of the One World Order wish list to build out for the technocracy, the controller's future vision for the fourth industrial wave is to fuse the organic human biology with AI machines, which is why there is an aggressive PSOPs for the purpose of supporting mandated and recurring vaccinations, which are the roadmap leading us to transhumanism. Currently, they are
You probably was in the confused category at the time that it was taking place, but if you remember, at one point they spoke about nanobite technology and nanobite. The nanobite is for AI, like it's for technology. So it was no way that they should have infused that with bio or biological chemicals, like, or however you want to look at it, not chemicals, makeup, right? I'm trying to stay away from certain words. So like I'm tripping over my words because I'm trying to stay away from certain words, right? But if they was to find a way to put nanobite technology inside of us in order to analyze us, right, then they're probably like analyzing the frequency or manipulating the frequency of the vessel or the body that the nanobite technology is in. Hmm. So if they let off a frequency, this nanobite technology might be responding to this signal or this frequency. So if the frequency is putting us in rage, putting us in confusing, putting us in anger, so on and so forth, you might see a spike in, the population. You might see arousal of chaos. You might see arousal of fear. You might see more people, pushing fear. You might see, and a lot of people don't even know that they're not in operation of their self. A lot of people think that they're fully in control of their self, but we're not. You know what I mean? So you see situations that take place and you're like, what? How? This is crazy, Um, and then you know the responsible party do what they're supposed to do, right? So if a situation take place and they want to push it out, and they'll just make it go viral. So that's why you see the things that's going viral, because this is how you push it out to the population, right? So once you push it out there to the population, then you change the mindset of that group, right? Think about it. I'll give you an example, and you could put a one in the chat if you understand what I'm saying, right? I'm gonna give you an example, okay? Look at the McDonald's manager situation. When that girl did that at the McDonald's and she took out that mother, and they pushed it out there and broadcast it out there, what happened? Everybody at other McDonald's, managers, everybody was on guard. Everybody was like, it won't be me. They ain't gonna catch me slipping. That's why I carry this. Da 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 da. And then you seen a higher level of violent activities taking place in those type of establishments. That's an example of how, the psychological or the mind actually is. You know what I mean? So when you're pushing out fear, when you're pushing out these things, this is how it works. It's the manipulation of it. It's like when you say you're going on a trip somewhere, someone puts all the fear of that trip in your mind, and now you're sitting there, hoping and wishing that these things don't happen and you can enjoy yourself, right?
Are desperate for total control and pushing hard for the next generation of weaponizing AI-controlled groupthink in order to completely enslave the masses, by covertly and secretly plugging people into the hive net and running kill command codes. This is planned to be achieved through a variety of means connected to GMOs, chemicals, and nanodust, but the mandated vaccination agenda being aggressively spread for the purpose of injecting nanochips and biosensors directly into the bloodstream of children and all of humanity. It is the holy grail of this anti-human propaganda. The NAA need their human puppets to mass produce and promote nanochip-laden and poisonous vaccinations as healthy immunization practices, through the global medical tyranny network, as this is the keystone to their future success with carrying out the next stage of the transhumanist agenda. This is intended to be the integration of human brains that are directly connected into AI systems through neural links that project the data collected into real-time sentient world simulations, that are further used to enforce the Phantom Earth blended reality system. The current timeline wars are primarily over maintaining the base 10 math architecture, which exists as NAA-controlled artificial machinery superimposed on the consciousness layers of the planetary body. This generates a blended Earth reality which contains organic creator code mixed in with artificial intelligence networks that are run by alien machinery. This reversal current runs throughout the technologically controlled sections of the planetary field, which implements the artificial timelines that project the artificial spaces or phantom matrices designed as the 3D matrix AI programming. The structure is entropic and parasitic, as it must rely upon an external power source through which to siphon energy to continue to exist, and this is where human brains and human bioenergy are currently being set up to be merchandised by the controllers for energy extraction by rolling out the vaccination and transhumanism agendas. Remember that nanotech biosensors can be used to harvest biological light. The goal of the NAA's reset into technocracy is to eventually have billions of nanotech bots and sensors running throughout our bioneurology, communicating with each other over a wireless network that directly connects our brains with the internet, so that human consciousness will be completely immersed in a virtual reality that is experienced through all of our biological senses. It is more effective if they can inject these nanobots into our bloodstream directly via the false front of vaccinations for public health. At this NAA wish list plan stage of nanotech infection with AI signals, an asleep human being will not have any perceptual awareness that the external experience is happening through an artificial intelligence simulated reality interface, and that the original connection into the organic consciousness reality will be effectively eliminated, thus disconnecting the soul and spiritual body from the biology of that physical person. This is the diabolical plan of the Black Sun. Satanists and NA entities that intensely hate humanity and desire to destroy the original Diamond Sun template and the God-given spiritual connection to Christos that inherently exists in human beings. 2.
That's how I know they got somebody watching my pages, because they just keep on clipping me. Like, but they keep giving it back, but they'll, somebody spamming my shit. Like, yo, is freedom of speech real or nah? What the fuck? Um, so like I was saying, this is part of the plan. This is part of the goal, right? And that's why I say, like, you know, when I look at like Candace Owens and certain characters, that's down here, because the world is one big stage, right? We can watch them being in different elements of their self. It's nice to see when they wake up and realize the trickery, you know what I mean? Realize what's going on. It's so lovely to see it when they're realizing it, like, oh, okay, boom. Like Charlie Clerk probably didn't think he was working with the bad guys, but when he realized it, he had integrity. You know what I mean? He tried to step away from it. He tried to leave breadcrumbs, Hansel and Gretel type shit, to lead, to point out, he probably didn't think that the people, that didn't rock with him was going to do what they did, or the people that rock with him was going to do what they did. But he left messages with certain people that he knew had integrity. You know what I mean? Candace Owens, you know what I mean? Knowing she has a powerful voice, knowing she got integrity, he made sure that she had certain, that, and he knew that she was going to look into it. He knew that her spirit, her conscience wasn't going to allow it to happen like that, right? And that's where you get like this whole Neuralink and all of this other stuff at, right? They don't want to tell you this. They don't want to tell you this. A lot of these people don't want to tell you this stuff, right? But at this point, I'm just tired of holding all of this knowledge in and watching a multitude of people be manipulated. You know what I mean? Like, I'm real. Like, at this point, like, I'm like, come on, we have to like open our eyes, people. We have to open our eyes. It's just, come on. And that's why I just sit on TikTok and play the game now, right? I recognize what platforms is doing what now. I recognize what's happening with the algorithm. I see that we are put in negative algorithms. Whereas though at one point I was in like a debate talk, or controversy, conspiracy theorist algorithm, and I was connecting with people all over the world, right? But then after they decided that it was a war against woke society, I got put in all messed up algorithms. I was like, what the hell is going on? Why am I in such negative algorithms? Why am I in such, you know, it didn't make sense. But now it makes sense, because they're using the system to put certain people in the algorithms that they want, because they are the targeted subjects, right? So the only people that's probably seeing my content is the people that they want to see my content for the sake of, you get what I'm saying? Luring me somewhere, pulling me somewhere, right? And then when they get me there, they got to create a scenario, create this, create that, right? And it happened a couple of times. It happened to me a couple of times, and I just didn't want to, I didn't want to like really put my finger on it. I'm just like, nah, that can't be. It's not. It ain't. But it is. It is. So you got to be careful of who you give your intent to, your consent to use your intent, right? Because your intent is being manipulated right now. So that's why I say, like, once you understand the laws, the 12 laws of the cosmos, universal laws, then these are the laws that protect your mind, right? There's 12 within the 12 laws of the universe. You can look this up, laws of the cosmos. Start studying them, start learning those laws. Those are the laws of your mind, right? Your water is under marine laws. So if you study like admiralty laws, then you know the operation of your Holy Spirit in the water with inside your vessel, right? And then you got man's laws. Your body is governed over man's laws, or however the laws of this land, human laws. That's the laws of your, physical, right? So, and these go back. This is not something that was created in this time. This goes back to Greek mythology. If you look at Greek mythology, Poseidon was given the ocean. That is considered to be the ocean of the body, right? Your holy sea, the water, the blood inside of you, right? And Zeus was given the sky. That's your mind. So Zeus rules the mind. To this day, Zeus rules the mind. He just changed his name to Christ, Jesus Christ, whatever you want to call it. But this is a ruler of the mind, right? Hey, Zeus, so on and so forth. And then Hades rules the dead lands, and that's considered to be the outside, like your flesh, because that's where a lot of decayed skin is at. It's the dry lands, however you want to look at it. So this storyline still is, it goes back, to Samaria, to Greek mythology. There's fragments of it, broken up with inside of our mind, but we can't quite put it all together. Like, but all of this is happening at the same time. So it's kind of difficult to, you know, be in a noun. Like it's hard to be in a noun and understand that all of this is happening at the same time. The galactic wars, the time wars, the data wars, the all of these fights is happening right now, because what is always was and always will be. That's why they say history repeats itself, because nothing really unalive. Like maybe during the Egyptians times they found a way to manipulate the unaliving process, but nothing unalive. Energy just transfers. So we're watching the transfer of energy and the manipulation of that transfer of that energy. So just pay attention, not to me, but listen to the lesson and then apply it where it's needed, in your physical. And it's okay if y'all don't want to comment. It's okay if y'all don't want to type nothing. It's okay if y'all don't want to speak, say hello, or anything like that. Like, I get it. Like, I know the internet is undefeated. I know how this works. Like I always say, I'm just putting this out in the ether so the ether can know, hey, I know. You know what I mean? From my eyes to God's mind, however you want to look at it. But I'm letting the universe know, hey, I know I'm down here. I'm calling on knowledge and wisdom to, wash over this world. I'm calling on, the creator to, fix whatever it is that is inside of us that is causing us to do the things that we're doing, because the world is beautiful. It's the people that's in it. You know what I mean? The world is great. It's the people that's in it, and people can change. So I'm calling on change for the better. I don't want this change for the worse. I don't want to keep on putting my intent on trauma and trauma bonding. You know what I mean? Because I want better. But see, people have become creatures of habit, and that habit is causing us to live in fear more than we're living in gratitude.
All human beings are responsible for their thoughts, deeds, actions, and behaviors. All of these are direct choices made by each person in the moment and will have direct energetic consequences. Whatever quality of energies we prepare our body to be resonant with or hold as spiritual conduit, whether it is positive forces or negative forces, is what we allow ourselves to have consent with. Whatever kind of force we are in consent with, whether we know this or not, is the frequency that our body and consciousness is subjected to in universal law. The quality of spiritual force will have corresponding dimensional laws which govern the actions of that quality of that spirit. Negative forces are in the lower dimensions and create servitude and bondage to time, while positive forces of the spirits of Christ are in the highest dimensions and create sovereignty and freedom for the soul and spirit. What we think with intent will be in consent with the frequency match of the forces that we create, and the force we create with is our authority in the structure we are building. What we build in the law of structures is that which we have created with accumulated or combined forces, and that creation, whether perceived as intangible or tangible, will have an energetic cause and effect upon our body, mind, consciousness, and all of our life experience. Since all structures in the body, mind, and spirit, as well as what we manifest in the material world, is based upon personal intent and consent with the thoughts being generated, That means we are directly responsible for every thought we generate, behavior we express, and action we take. In order to be responsible for every thought we have to determine where the thought form is sourcing from, and if we want to accept that thought, behavior, or action in relationship to its consequence, which is the law of cause and effect. There is a consequence to every thought, behavior, or action that is generated that will bear influence and impact to the individual thought, as well as the collective field of accumulated thoughts on the planet, and beyond. When one has the knowledge of the law of intent, they naturally develop their consent to what energy, force, or structure they are interacting with or co-creating with. That force of energy that is used to create a structure will be the authority of which that structure has been built. As long as that structure has been built with that intent, consent, and authority will be the governor of that structure. This lack of knowledge is the most common reason why an individual that has unknowingly created with the imposter spirit forces become entangled in that combined forces, law of cause and effect. This is a loophole of the alien machinery and its inorganic architecture. See bywave influences have manipulated human beings to co-create with these forces in order to grow and spread their intent, consent, and authority on the earth plane and other dimensions, such as the astral plane. This is a critical piece of knowledge in order to develop spiritual maturity, which can be cultivated with the many tools in ES community, such as the 12 practices of self-awareness. Our actions bring our results.
So basically, it's telling you that this is a loophole. If this is a loophole, then we can use the laws of cause and effect in order to reverse whatever it is. So if you place the proper cause, then the effect will change with the laws of intent, right? So instead of putting our intentions on negativity, instead of putting our intentions on the drama, instead of putting our intentions on, we can use this to put our intentions on good stuff. We can use this, we can consent to the light, we can consent to the truth, we can consent to, do y'all get what I'm saying?
The law of intent is essentially what we think is what we create through intent, consent, and structure. When we do not have intent, we have no consent, and the default is given to the energetic signature of the frequency match held in the thought, behavior, or action as aligned to the law of resonance, which will answer to the law of consent. The laws of intent, consent, authority, and structure are purposely hidden and manipulated by the NAA in order to control humans who are not aware of these energetic laws, nor aware that they can gain personal power to regain control over their spiritual and energetic consciousness through the abeyance of these laws. What we hold as our intention in our personal thoughts is what we hold as our consent. The consent is that we have given towards that thought form and its vibrational quality and force, as well as the energetic consequence of the thought form substance created, which impacts the self and others. Accumulative value of intent. The sum total of the energetic intention behind the accumulated thoughts or words that we have said in the present moment is more important than the verbal language used to establish intent, consent, and authority. The fact we may think the thought automatically under mind control programs means we have given that thought consent even without our conscious participation with intent. This is the main factor in NAA human exploitation by mind control. By taking away knowledge of personal intent, they remove consent in the laws. This means that disciplining and controlling our inner thoughts is extremely important, as these thoughts add accumulative energies to form intent, consent, and authority made under the law. Through the exploitation of these laws, the NAA and the false father gods have manipulated humanity to be in consent and authority with their forces, as intermediary, through shaping the predator mind in the human culture, through the many mind control programs that humans are given as a false history and false reality. Based on these many lies and deceptions, humanity holds belief systems of the predator mind thought forms, thus, naturally becomes in the consent and authority of that same predator mind in the NAA groups. This is how the NAA control humanity, by manipulation of consent in the mind, by removing intention of thoughts and making them automatic reactions in the unconscious mind, further, which manipulates the soul. This makes the NAA false gods an intermediary source field, imposter spirit, for many unsuspecting humans who cannot discern the difference between lies and deception, and the truth.
Now, this type of knowledge becomes very important, especially if you're in this Jaguar right sector, this Hunger Games type of, um, algorithm on YouTube, right? If you're in this type of algorithm, this is how it works, right? It's a manipulation of your consent. Yes, your intentions are true and pure, but once someone understands how, the mind works, and they start trying to figure out the patterns of people's minds, so on and so forth, this is how they manipulate your consent, right? By pushing a bunch of trauma in your mind, pushing a bunch of, bad thoughts, negative thoughts, trying to push you in guilt, shame, fear, always trying to, yeah, you did it wrong. You could have did it better. You said it wrong. You could have said it better. You could have said it this way. You did it. Da, da, da. So these are how they like slowly program your mind, right? And a lot of people don't even know that they're in this operation. A lot of people don't even know that they're doing it because we're creatures of habit. So the way that conversation is made, is based off of how we were taught to conversate, you know. Even when you're looking at different languages, when you're looking at, Spanish, right? When they teach you Spanish, is hola, como está, muy bien, y tú, so on and so forth, right? So it's like a taught behavior of how to speak to each other, of how to talk to one another, so on and so forth, right? And that becomes hard to break because it's human nature, right? Good morning, right? Like it's good morning. It's never good to mourn, So our vocabulary is placed in this, uh linear way of thinking.
This means if we hold a thought form and behaviors that vibrationally matches Luciferian intentions or satanic intentions, at the same or equal vibration or frequency level, this is the consent that one has given to be in authority or exchange with those same forces.
See, this is why when we came over here to point stuff out in the Jaguar right sector, we didn't do it with the same frequency level. That's why we did it with laughter. That's why we were just pointing out and having fun and laughing about it and like, look, they're scamming. Look at the whole, look at the group. Look at how this person is connected to that person, so on and so forth. But the frequency wasn't matched. We didn't match their frequency. We wasn't angry. We wasn't rah rah rah. They wanted that feelings and emotions to match their, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? They wanted their frequency. They wanted our frequency to match their depression, their sadness, their anger. You know what I mean? All of that stuff. They wanted their frequency to match that stuff. Yeah, see, but our early bird gets the worm. See, I can do this now, right? Put this video out there now, and then throughout the day, people can just replay it and watch it at their leisure time. And then I'm free to go do whatever the hell I want to do for the rest of my time, right? So I'm just getting this out the way. You get what I'm saying? Knowledge, putting knowledge out there first thing in the light. That's great. That's a beautiful thing to do, you know? Is considered to be what, all work no play, or you got to have equal balance. So we put the knowledge out there in the daytime, and then we go and enjoy the rest of our day. You should try it. It's a beautiful thing.
Forces. As an example, one may go to church and pray to God for help, and then go home and engage in self-destructive habits, addiction, sexual misery programs, yell at their spouse, or whatever else. Then the person wonders why they cannot feel any spiritual support or God connection. One may ask for consent and authority to be with God. However, as this example represents, it is the accumulative choices that we make in our thoughts and behaviors that ultimately energetically align us to the force we are in consent with. This highlights the importance of choosing one's authority and therefore one's intentional consent and authority every day, to help overcome the negative thoughts one may have as you learn to discipline the mind from negative ego and predator mind thoughts. As we discipline our mind daily by discerning spiritually healthy thought forms that are suggested in the GSF behavior and the law of one, we get stronger to build our spiritual house, which is building our structure, as obeying the law of consent. One has the right to build their personal space to comply with one's personal consent, as given through accumulative intentional thoughts and behaviors in the law of consent, which decide which forces are used in the building of the internal and external structure, through the law of structure.
See? So you're building this, right? Through your actions, so on and so forth. So that goes back to faith without works, that goes back to the Bible saying that there's only two type of people down here, Christ-like beings and antichrist-like beings. But a lot of antichrist-like beings fake like they're Christ-like beings by going to church on Sunday, pretending like they, Christ, representative of Christ, but then the rest of the 6 days a week they're out there doing all types of mayhem and fuckery, right? So they this is happening right now. You see this, right? No one's having no discernment. No one's recognizing Christ beings by their actions. No one's You're just saying that you're a brother of Christ, a sister of Christ, or whatever, but you're actually out here doing demonic stuff. It's like, look at Jaguar Wright, you know. She's out here, speaking all types of wicked, hell, fire, damnation. She's on Saturday, she's a keeper of the Sabbath. On Sunday, she's a follower of Yoshua, Yahweh, or whatever. On Wednesday, she's going to Juma. And then on Fridays, she's practicing witchcraft, so on and so forth, right? So you see the manipulation of all of these things that are etched in our mind. You see them manipulating this on a scale where it's like global, because it's on the internet, right? So all these people that you see broadcasting on the internet, so on and so forth, they're putting out the narrative of all of this stuff. When you look at the Rakais who's out here doing all this effery, but then it's inshallah, Allah, Allah, Allah. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have those two things, and you can't straddle the fence with this. If you're a good person, your deeds is going to reflect that good. This is the way it is, but people's, it's not reflecting. They're not making their good thoughts, good deeds, good actions reflect Christ.
This law is emphasized in the ES core triad by making a statement every day where your intent, consent, and authority is being chosen through one's personal declaration of intention. If one does not make this consent or authority, the natural law will align to the intentions of the accumulative energies collected in one's thoughts and the quality of the energies one has in their light body. This is why purification of one's mind, body, and emotion supports spiritual ascension and spiritual progression. As example, the step 1 of the daily declaration of intention is to, through one's own power, resolve the authority problem between negative ego and God. My declaration of intention is to serve my source. I commit to serve my highest power fully, completely, and totally. I am God. I am sovereign. I am free. In this statement from the ES core triad, one is accessing the law of intent, the law of consent, and the law of structure.
See, that's why, I say, like, I be trying to protect my orifices. I be trying to protect my ears, my eyes, my nose, my tongue. Like, I be doing everything to protect those 7 vortexes of heaven, right? So people be mad at me because I don't want to conversate with negativity, don't want to keep on latching on. Sometimes I fall victim to it because I be giving in to other people's feelings and emotions, so on and so forth. And this is a trap. Like, people pull you into their feelings and emotions, and then trauma. And now you're bonded to them through trauma, right? And it happens every time. It's repeated every time, in relationships, in work, in life. You're just not seeing it. You're not catching it, right? People constantly talk about the unaliving process. Look at funerals. We bond at funerals, the unawaking, so on and so forth. We you gotta look at the way life is. It's all the negative stuff that creates bonding. It's What? I don't want to bond through negative no more. I'm good on that. I realize that, in this world, how this world works, I come to the realization that through my mind is where the manipulation is taking place at. In my mind, if the manipulation is taking place in my mind, then I can reverse that. I can, it might be hard, but I can manifest the will to want to say I could be better. I could do better. I can want to learn. I could want to be better. I can, I need to know this stuff. I need to, break down, how this works, so on and so forth. And I want to be able to bring this to other people so they can, understand how this works and so on and so forth, right? And you ask the universe for different variations of help with this, and the universe gives you different variations of help, and you get to choose how you want to use what the universe is giving you. It's universal law, right? God give it, God take it away type thing, right? So when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to the ability to reach other people, so on and so forth, that's something that the universe is giving. See, other people manipulate this with spirits, right? So they put themselves in a high vibrational frequency of 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 motion by drinking, right? This thins your blood, which causes your blood to run a little bit faster through your body, right? And it also heats the body. So this is where the fire comes in, because really this is all alchemy, right? So this is a way to manipulate the body and the alchemy of the body, which changes the intent, the thought process, right? So once you start pumping out egotistical or prideful thoughts, so on and so forth, this is what starts building these pillars or these houses inside your body. And now you're going through ego, fear, so on and so forth. So that's why I say you got to be real careful of who it is that you're letting in, who it is that you're allowing into your thoughts. And because people come in and then they are questioning everything, that you're like questioning your mind, right? But then if you try to question their mind, they're like, how dare you? You don't have the right to question my mind or my thinking or how I go about. Well, why do you get to question mine? Why everything I do is always inquired about? But when you do stuff, it's just the right thing. Like, so you have to watch these variations of manipulation.
The psychological warfare approach of divide and conquer tactics used by the NAA to condition anti-human values and erode integrity in the masses is called the archontic deception strategy. The archontic deception strategy is used to socially engineer the death culture, a culture of fear, dishonesty, and deception. This is achieved through Pavlovian mind control conditioning that adopts extremely self-destructive behaviors as the standard model to guide human behavior. Through conditioning these same behaviors repeatedly in mass media to manufacture social norms, it has produced a population of people that commonly display these negative ego qualities of fear, dishonesty, and deception as an acceptable value system that guides their deepest motivations and interactions. People without a value system of personal integrity are easily corrupted and manipulated by mass mind control, producing unstable, erratic, and destructive behaviors. 1.
And this is where like the manipulation of feelings and emotions come in. One might manipulate your feelings, your personal integrity, so on and so forth. This has become the social norm now. You see it online, you see it happening. Um, and I don't I don't think anybody wants to stop it. Like, and I know a lot of people are seeing this happen, and it seems like nobody wants to stop it. Nobody wants to, but you see it happening.
Social norms are familiar understandings that govern the behavior of members in a society. The roles of norms are collective consciousness representations, which emphasize and guide human behavior in certain situations or are observed in the environment as mental representations that inform appropriate behavior. Social norms mirror theater of the absurd. To maximize the efficiency of the negative alien agenda's gradual takeover of the planet through psychological warfare, their goal is to intentionally destroy moderate and humanitarian social norms as value systems, in order to covertly infiltrate the main societal organizational structures of humanity. 1. Conditioning of anti-human value systems. The controller pillars of society demonstrate recurrent victimization of those individuals that speak transparently and truthfully to the public, in order to condition persecution of any coherent value system that is deeply connected to maintaining one's personal integrity. The controllers do not want to produce people with genuine personal integrity that follow a coherent value system that promotes strong self-esteem and self-responsibility, a person that lives by what they believe in and won't compromise their integrity. The psychological warfare approach of divide and conquer tactics used by the NAA to condition anti-human values and erode integrity in the masses is called the archontic deception strategy. The archontic deception strategy is used to socially engineer the death culture, a culture of fear, dishonesty, and deception. This is achieved through Pavlovian mind control conditioning that adopts extremely self-destructive behaviors as the standard model to guide human behavior. Through conditioning these same behaviors repeatedly in mass media to manufacture social norms, it has produced a population of people that commonly display these negative ego qualities of fear, dishonesty, and deception as an acceptable value system that guides their deepest motivations and interactions. People without a value system of personal integrity are easily corrupted and manipulated by mass mind control, producing unstable, erratic, and destructive behaviors. 2.
Oh, come on, let's think. We got to give this a name. What can we call it? I know. We'll call it crashing out. That's a great name for it. We'll say that person is crashing out, right? And this goes back to why I say, what Candace Owens is talking about, right? This is why I point to what Candace Owens is talking about and so on and so forth, because you see this happening right now, right? The integrity, personal integrity being attacked, so on and so forth, the ability to have the freedom of speech to speak on what you want, right? You see it happening.
From outside, we fight terror tunnels of Hamas, we fight the ballistic missiles of Iran. But today, I look at the West, our greatest ally, and I see a new enemy rising from within. I am speaking of a poison being sold to the American people as patriotism. I'm speaking of the intellectual vandalism of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Mr. Speaker, let us be clear about what this is. They claim to fight the woke left. They are no different than the woke left. The radical left tears down the statues of Thomas Jefferson. Tucker Carlson tears down the legacy of Winston Churchill. The radical left says Western civilization is evil. Candace Owens says the roots of our faith are demonic. It is the same sickness. It is the same moral relativism. It is the same hatred of the West dressed up in a different costume.
Yes, to be clear, that is dangerous. The Likud party, and I was quite literally, someone was plotting my murder. Actually, a year from the date that Charlie was murdered on September 10th, someone was plotting my murder and got discovered, and that's still making its way through the courts. These people are calling for violence. That's the implicit threat here. They're all growing increasingly more radical, and they're feeling threatened by speech, which is why I implore all of you, which I see that you are, which is why they feel threatened, to continue to use it and to recognize these people are incredibly dangerous. They are very dangerous when a person is unwilling to say, here is what I did wrong, especially when that person has murdered tens of thousands of children, what they're doing down in Venezuela, Argentina. When they say the issue is people recognizing what they're doing. Argentina, they are tweeting. I mean, they are in the streets shouting against Zionism. And we're supposed to believe it's because everyone just hates Jews, everyone hates God's chosen people, or because you can no longer convince people that you are murdering, stealing, plundering in the name of the Lord. I think it's the latter, but these people are dangerous. Okay, if anything happens to Tucker Carlson or me, you obviously know that Israel was involved. Obviously, that is unbelievably apparent in their rhetoric. They're name checking us. They're calling us on stage. They're sending their goons out to harass us because we believe in America first and that we should stop getting involved in their interests, and that it is unacceptable, frankly, that our government gives more flack to Tucker Carlson. Our government representatives give more flack to Tucker Carlson than they did to Jeffrey Epstein. We can't even protect the nation's most innocent. How do we even have a government?
Uh, I just wanted to play that again. I just wanted to play it again. You know what I mean? I wanted to play it again, you know? But we have to look at the land that we're in. You know, this is why so much is going on around America, so on and so forth. Alpha, Omega, Order, Templar. Uh, I'm invoking certain variations of laws now. So a lot of things is going to change in this timeline. So you're going to watch this change take place. I'm just pointing it out ahead of time so you can uh, be on point with it. A long time ago, we were in the land of Cain, and the Canaanites worship Baal, and this spread throughout Egypt and the Middle Kingdom, so on and so forth. And they just disguised it, right? But I'm here to point this out. I'm here to open up the doors to how Black Witch of Baal and how this stuff works, right? No longer will we live in the dark. No longer will we be afraid to speak out what is actually happening spiritually or in the carnal world, right? So I'm pointing out what's going on in real time. Stay with me, okay? Stay with me. You don't believe me? Let's listen.
From Canaan, worship of Baal spread to Egypt by the Middle Kingdom and throughout the Mediterranean following the waves of Phoenician colonization in the early 1st millennium BCE. Baal Hammon was worshipped in the Tyrian colony of Carthage as their supreme god. He has been variously identified as a moon god and as Dagon, the grain god. Rather than the bull, Baal Hammon was associated with the ram and depicted with his horns. The archaeological record seems to bear out accusations in Roman sources that the Carthaginians burned their children as human sacrifices to Baal and Moloch. He was worshipped as Baal Karnaim, Lord of the Two Horns, particularly at an open-air sanctuary at Jebel Bukornian, Two Horn Hill, across the bay from Carthage. His consort was the goddess Tanit. Baal Hammon is identified with the Greek Kronos and the Roman Saturn as the Zabul Saturn. See Saturn blood worship. Baal was a title and honorific meaning owner, lord, in the Northwest Semitic languages spoken in the Levant during antiquity. From its use among people, it came to be applied to gods. The Hebrew Bible includes use of the term in reference to various Levantine deities, often with application towards Hadad, who was decried as a false god. That use was taken over into Christianity and Islam, sometimes under the form Beelzebub in demonology. Baal is well attested in surviving inscriptions and was popular in ancient Canaan. The worship of Baal eventually supplanted El as the leader of the gods and patron of kingship, was connected to the region's dependence on rainfall for its agriculture, unlike Egypt and Mesopotamia, which focused on irrigation from their major rivers. The Lebanese city of Baalbek was named after Baal. Christianity refers to Baal, Beelzebub or Beelzebul as Satan, prince of the demons. The Quran mentions that Prophet Elijah, warned his people against Baal worship. 1.
See? Now, once they figured out how to infiltrate this into the religions, once they figured out how to infiltrate this into America sculpture, right? Because if you go back to our Social Security is attached to Sumerian timeline. If you look at the book of Revelations, the book of Revelations tell you Revelations 17, 1 through 7, tell you about mystery Babylon, right? This is the land of Canaan, the so on and so forth. Now, if your social security number is tied to this, right, biblical text, then that means your social security number is tied to Mystery Babylon, right? Because it referenced Revelations when talking about admiralty laws and the laws of admiralty and how the social security number and our school systems and so on and so forth is up under this abnormality laws, then it goes back to reference Revelation 17, 1 through 7. You can go read that. That's a reference for you. Okay. You can go read it. It's a reference.
The dark alien mother spawn that replaced the Holy Mother's spiritual principle shows herself as the original Black Witch of Baal, as the dark alien mother of the entire reptoid insectoid hive of Baal shadow creatures that she created and fostered as a fallen angelic demonic race that was first seeded onto the planet during the invasion of the Middle East stargates. She has shown herself by attacking Christos teams repeatedly through many different people representing the legions through various fatale names, all sourcing back to the top of the pyramid of her hive mind control and the Black Dragon Avatar Collective. The NAA factions of Sirius A Coneheads operating at the top of the Vatican controller pyramid revere her as the Black Dragon Queen of the Ninth Circle, the mother of Baal pure deviants, devourer of triple solar Marys and her children. The Cancerian lunar overlays of the Black Witch of Baal are deeply enmeshed with the Sumerian Egypt invasion and the installation of this particular Black Dragon Queen, which is an AI hybrid creature assigned for orchestrating the solar female Melchizedek Holocaust during the Djosar's invasion timeline, with her machined elemental creations of Behemoth and Leviathan that were installed into the planetary elemental matrix. During these dreadful events in Sumeria, this included the hunting down and genocide of authentic solar female Melchizedeks that were embodying the mother of the world or Tiamati principle whilst protecting the cosmic father's ruby crystal underneath Giza's solar gate. Guardian Yeshua had utilized the ruby crystal under the Sphinx to exit this realm all the way out of the universal time matrix into Andromeda, and the controllers did not want that to happen again. Thus, she had at her command legions of Baal. Demons, lunar female demonic forces and shadow creatures in order to spread the perversions of her AI machined Cancerian elements of lunar consciousness into the blood cult religions with mass sacrifices corrupting the astral plane and astral waters that powered up the dark alien mother's Black Witch of Baal satanic sorcery upon the planet. See Cancerian Black Queen, 3.
Now, if we was to get into this, that's why I say this is important, especially for those who are, familiar with things that took place in the Jaguar Wright sector. Like when Jaguar Wright's son said that she is standing at the mouth of Leviathan and so on and so forth. And a lot of people might not have knew what he was talking about when he said, this mouth of Leviathan and so on and so forth, right? But it is considered to be beast machinery, alien machinery, so on and so forth, technology from the Baphomet. And this is electronic wars. Leviathan is nothing more than what you see now taking place with technology and how they're broadcasting, certain traumas, triggers, using these things that is a manipulation of our body. So they're using all of these things that they know is going to trigger or place certain variations of trauma triggering seeds inside of you.
Leviathan. The Electric Wars event has been recorded in the corrupted elementals of Earth, and its form of artificial intelligence is buried in the black goo that connects directly into the AI fields of the Phantom Earth timeline. This historical trigger event in the 8th Stargate has been brought into an intersection with the current collective consciousness time cycles on the Earth, as the organic position of the planetary staff is being repaired in the Earth body. 1.
So this makes it more visible for those who have the eye, the third eye, for when you get connected with your, Akashic records, when you get connected to it, you'll have the ability to see this operation inside of people. You can see this Leviathan Baphomet operation inside of people. This is where the chaos comes in. Controllers of chaos, monsters of chaos. It's only in people. The Bible says the devil will always appear to you in the form of mankind, not anything else. Mankind. The only way we can recognize devilish ways, Baal worshiping ways, through the 72 demons of the soul of man, right? We have to understand and study this stuff and understand exactly what it is that is taking place inside the vessel. So that way we can change this inside the vessel. Now, there's going to be some stuff that's going to be talked about. Leviathan is also negative alien race put here to guard the Tamith wormhole ripple open between Sarasota and Florida, Sarasota, Florida, right? So this is why you see Florida being a important point, right? This is why, her son said that she's standing at the mouth of a Leviathan, so on. Look, I'm telling y'all, pay attention. I'm just pointing this out. This is why they want me out the way, because they're like, hell no. He not only just pointing this out, he's showing them shit. You know what I mean? And he got a Discord, and he's got them in the Discord looking at shit and pointing out shit in real time. So they like, he's got to get out the way. This is why I did not say I can see him interfering with what I got going on. You know what I mean? I can see him exposing me. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. This is why all of them decided, like, you know what? We need to work together to get this person gone, because after he get rid of this person, you might be next. You might be next. You might be next. He might be start pointing out your shit in real time. So that's why you seen all of them transpire to try to come against the knowledge and stuff that we were pushing over here. You know what I mean?
In the lower dimensional fields, there is a chaotic war struggle occurring in order to regain control over the dark matter, as this is a massive power source for the AI, as well as for the black magic grids. From the epicenter of the Atlantean timelines in the United Kingdom, it may appear to some on the black magic grids that the forces of chaos generated in the phantom world will eminently come to the surface via Behemoth and Leviathan to destroy the Earth realm. One may note the consistent mainstream movie releases portraying violent dystopian futures and Armageddon scenarios that annihilate the Earth, combined with the urgent messages to save the human species from certain extinction. But in actuality, this is not real. It's the AI program running holographic movies in these timeline loops to project the Armageddon monsters of chaos that are reversal elementals coming from out of the AI technology and the black magic grid. The Armageddon software captures the Book of Revelation and Enoch prophecies as the female and male Antichrist, the Leviathan and Behemoth monsters that are unleashed against humanity in the end times, for the massive war which supposedly brings forth the true Messiah of this world. In the twisted and psychopathic mind of the NAA, this violent narrative was the setup for human martyrdom and blood sacrifice at the end of the astrological precession and ascension cycle. The power elite believe they are the chosen ones to fulfill this end of times prophecy and direct the AI programs in order to wake up and agitate these monsters of chaos, which they have co-created from the shadow fragments and reversal elementals on the surface. Leviathan is also a negative alien race, put here to guard the Tiamat wormhole ripped open between Sarasota, Florida and the Temple Mount. However, it is more commonly used as an image of Satan endangering God's creatures, by attempting to eat them and by threatening God's creation with an upheaval in the waters of chaos. The Church of Satan uses the Hebrew letters at each of the points of the sigil of Baphomet to represent Leviathan in their black magic rituals. This means Satanists that conjure or evoke Baphomet fields to power up Leviathan entities for service to self rituals are actually contributing to the feeding of the beast machine and its AI technology for maintaining the electromagnetic harness. This is another example of why Satanism is a natural segue into the transhumanism agendas, as many materialists are very pro-artificial intelligence, too.
See? This explains a lot of stuff that you see happening right now. This is why I try to explain to people what Tiamat was. This is why I try to explain to people about agents of chaos. This is why I tried to build like a positive network of people that are trying to learn this stuff so they can go out and speak about this and so on and so forth. I had a lot of, people come through my page on TikTok, so on and so forth, that stole certain variations of intellectual properties and went on and, created pages and so on and so forth. But they never wanted to build that positive network. They just was trying to find a means to survive. Like they seen how fast my page was growing. They seen like how, how much people were interested in the things that I were talking about. Right. So they were like, okay, boom. So they would listen to me talk about this stuff, and then what they do is like they'll spam my page, and then for the week that my page is down, they'll talk about the stuff that I'm pointing out, or so on and so forth. And then when my page get back up, because it's got strikes on it, so on and so forth, it's suffering from restrictions. The numbers is hard to come in. Or they created agencies where the agencies now monitor those who are talking about this type of knowledge and stuff like that, and then they suppress your numbers, or flag your page, so on and so forth, because the agencies have access to TikTok backstage, and the TikTok backstage lets them know like when you're going live, so on and so forth. So once you sign up for an agency, they know when you're live. They can come in and watch from behind the scenes, or flag your page, possibly get it took down, so on and so forth. So we've seen a lot of that go on TikTok over the last 4 years. So, and it still goes on now, where they have certain groups that are in charge of monitoring certain pages, almost just like DIFUS or child services, right? One person might be required to watch 20 or 25 people's pages, monitor 25 people, you know what I mean, and so on and so forth. And they have these buildings where it's like, if you remember, they was talking about big homie CC going to a building, and it was just a bunch of people at computer desks and stuff in there, right? That's one of their workplaces, you know what I mean? So that's where he goes to get his information. A lot of other people got other places that they go because they're informants. They're the ones who they're trying to mass control the chaos. So they got agents of chaos put out there, 607 Unk, Big Homie CC, Ronnie Bo, Jaguar Wright, all these different players are, agents of it, you know what I mean? Whack 100, he's supposed to be looking at a Rico with Ray J, so on and so forth. So he's cooperating. Like all these different entities, they're in cooperation with the negative alignment. So as long as they're out there being the agents of chaos in the communities that they want the chaos to be in, then they're going to be just fine. You get what I'm saying? So it don't matter what they're facing, what trouble they're in, or nothing, as long as they stay to the agenda. But if you look at the characters who try to change the agenda, right? If you look at what's his name? What's his name that just beat that federal case, right? He bought all that land. He was going to try to, he didn't want to do the negative alignment no more, right? Look at what happened with Bone Thugs and Harmony when they realized what the agenda was and was like, nah, we ain't rocking with that, right? Sales drop. You know what I'm saying? We went from thuggish, ruggish Bond to wake up. It was over with. You know what I mean? Once they got to, if I could teach the whole wide world to be a thug in harmony, if I would teach the whole wide world to be a thug stud just like me. Once they started talking about like the resurrection, remember they dropped the Resurrection album in 99, 2000, right? Once Bone Thugs and Harmony started talking about that, they was like, nah, we ain't, you know what I mean? And, but you have these agendas that's taking place. And one of the ways that they are suppressing soul, spirit within inside the vessel is what you see now. So in metropolitan areas or in urban areas, there was a heavy push around 2012. We go back to 2012. A lot of things changed back in 2012. The CERN machine came on. Whatever the case, 2012 changed a lot of things. I want to point out these changes, right? First, NA changed its description, right? So you no longer have to give power over to the God, that be, so on and so forth. Now it states in NA that you are allowed to substitute one drug for another drug. So that's why you see a lot of Subutex, Suboxones, methadone clinics, so on and so forth, coming up, right? This is one way to suppress the spirit within inside the vessel, right? Because it drops your spirit, but it blocks your conscious, so on and so forth, right? That's one way, right? Then you have what is plasma, right? B plasma. All of a sudden you see all these B plasma centers popping up. Come on, come give your plasma. You need Christmas money, you need this, you need fun. Come give us your plasma. What's B plasma? Don't even worry about it. You don't even need it. Come on, get it. Make sure you get some iron. Did you eat a bagel today? Come on, just give it to us. You don't even want. So why y'all want it? How is it so important to y'all, but it's nothing to us and y'all paying us for it? Nobody questioned that, right? But you see the places that they put it in, right? So if you're looking at what's taking place, then you see what's happening. It's a reason why it's a liquor store across the street from every church in certain areas, spirits, right? It's a reason why everything is what it is. They took a long time to structure the planet the way it is right now, to get the world the way it is right now. It took a lot, right? But through the observant of us that's down here, us Christ-like beings, us Christ conscious like beings. Back in the day, they had different titles for us, going back to the original Essenes, not before they did the trickery, right? And they had, what they would call like the jujitsuists who did the assassinations of characters, and then they had someone else come and steal your image or falsify your being, right? So this was like how they would steal you know what I mean? So they'll put a bunch of negative on you, probably bring charges against you, make it look like you're a crook, a criminal, or something like that. If they can't get you into like the psychological games where you think you're going crazy, then these are the ways that they'll try to get you, kind of like they did Rashim Jamal, whatever his name is, right? Different variations, right? So when they can't get you, they'll try different other tactics to try to get you, right? So however you look at this, right now there's a reclaiming of the solar Mary Tammet, right? This is why this is so important. This is why America is so important. This is why the logos, this is why the Lee lines, this is why everything is happening right now in real time. The things that we talk about on this page, you can see the operation of this in real time. You hear me? You can see this operation in real time. This is not, and that's why I say, like, when you see what's going on in Florida, when you see what's happening with the crystals over in the UK, when you see the vibrational frequency shift that's going to take place, this is why Trump said he's working with the UK now in order to get things in order. And now this is why you see the fight on words and so on and so forth, because this is the manipulation of crystals, frequencies, Lee lines, so on and so forth, right? I want to point out something. In order for the Christ to reveal themselves, the Antichrist must reveal themselves first, right? And the Bible says that the Antichrist is he who announces peace in the Middle East, right? He who announces peace in the Middle East is the Antichrist. So I want y'all to pay attention to that. I want y'all to look for that in the future, that he who announces peace in the Middle East is considered to be the Antichrist. So the Antichrist will reveal itself, and then you will know who the Christ is. After the Antichrist reveal itself, then you will know who the Christ is, right? So we got some stuff to go through, and this is about to take place in this 7 years, because a lot of stuff got to take place before 2030, right? So you're going to watch a lot of stuff take place, but it's to trap your feelings and emotions, right? It's to trap your intent. It's to make you be afraid to dream. you know it don't The system don't want you to dream a better day. The system don't want you to dream a day that we can all get along. The system don't want you to dream of peace. Remember, it's divide and conquer. There's no possible way the system wants you to dream of unity, right? They put these false narratives out there as if we can all achieve an idea of peace, right? But it's only their idea of peace, right? It's not our idea of peace, your individual idea of peace, or your collective idea of peace. It's what they think peace should be, right? And they want you to fight for what they think peace should look like, right? So it's tricky out here. So you can't dream of peace in this system.
The destruction and capture of Tiamat's consciousness body is what led to the utter destruction of the white solar queens, who are the embodiments of the triple solar feminine ascended masters, splitting apart the Christos Sophia. as the solar female principle descended into lunar consciousness forms of sexual misery which made ascension and leaving the time matrix impossible. 1. After the invaders systematically hunted down and destroyed the Holy Mother Sophia's representatives all over the universal time matrix, hijacking her emerald records and solar Christ Mary wisdom teachings of spiritual alchemy and biological ascension, they set out to invert her sacred knowledge. Through artificial technology weapons used to spread satanic forces or parasites throughout the planetary grid, they sought to wreak havoc upon angelic humanity during the vulnerabilities of the Dark Aeon. The main technology weapon used to hold up the Dark Mother networks was an artificially generated galactic capstone network holding together several phantom wormholes using the red cube cloned version of the Tiamat logos. Reclaiming Solar Mary's Tiamat history. Since last year, 2022, many grid wars and off-planet spiritual warfare events ensued as a result of reclaiming her massive spiritual body parts that are connected to the Solar Mary's Tiamat histories, and the reclamation and reunion of her cosmic dragon parts. There has been ongoing dismantling of the anti-hierogamic alien machinery that was used to pervert, invert, and clone her sacred image, energy signature, and Holy Spirit for assorted satanic agendas as the alien-generated Dark Mother. The reanimation of the triple solar goddess in her solar Christ Mary form has been actively involved in the sequential activation of many Gothic cathedrals across the globe that were originally built on dragon nodes in her name and Mary Magdalene Sophia lineage. See Tiamat logos. 2. The female logos of Blue Terra was sourced from the Mahara Resha Blue Spirit Sun in her sapphire flame body, so when Terra exploded, the 10D sapphire body connected to Tiamat in our time matrix exploded as well. The Blue Dragon Terra and Blue Dragon Tiamat are twin sister Sophianic planets, and their spiritual connection was revealed as the planetary logos of twin sister female Blue Spirit Suns held in the Universal Elasa Sun body that had originally
Okay,
emerged from the
now
sapphire
of
diamond
course
flame
you
body.
guys don't know all of that stuff right there. You guys don't know. I'm trying to keep it around what we can actually know, or so on and so forth. A lot of that stuff right there is going to get very complicated because it's going to be talking about like the 10th gate, stargates, the living goddess, so on and so forth. This goes back to crystals, ley lines, and different variations of programs that are placed within inside the structure of this planet and us. Like, so frequencies are being manipulated, played on through this. When you go back to Marduk, you go back to the planet Anubaru, and so on and so on. These are the things that you're going to get into when you get into that. And this is where like the false goddess comes in and everything like that. Once you go into the universal matrix and how they manipulate, this is a variation of one of those manipulations of a false god. And this is something that was put in place before. You don't even listen, you have no idea the depths of this. Do you get what I'm saying?
In the many evolution cycles in universal time matrix, there are series of emanations of consciousness current which are developed or potentially digressed. Previously, it has been mentioned that the planet Tiamat's destruction from another evolution cycle is one such causation to which the collective consciousness on Earth descended into the evolution cycle of the fallen goddess. The fallen goddess consciousness perpetuates the enslaved consciousness of the abused female archetype. Archetype in the planetary holographic architecture. This is the drawing source of the satanic forces that currently distort the female principle inside men and women on the planet today. During the destruction of Tiamat the planet, a portion of Christos Sophia's divine essence became trapped within the phantom matrix and material realms of creation, and she existed outside of the house of God. The Christos Sophia body was split into many negative forms of itself, to which these forms were captured and used by the lower material forces of Satanism and Luciferianism. Her fallen body parts were used to impregnate her with grotesque creations, such as the Archon parasites, for the use of these lower spirits. These anomalies were made as a part of her fragmented consciousness, but to which she had no control over their use or direction. When these splits in her consciousness body occurred, she fragmented into the earth elemental matter and lost her Christos body. Hence, she was fallen and trapped in matter. This part of the Christos Sophia's fallen consciousness is called the Achamoth. The subsequent impregnated creations that are enmeshed in the negative form body is mixed with fallen angelics and earthly forces. This is called the Baphomet field. It is for this reason, Christos repeatedly returns to the earth to help to reclaim Sophia's body parts, which when made whole again, will allow her to return to the Godhead. When considering that the planet Tiamat is the physical world that existed with humanity's world soul in another evolution cycle, then it is the fallen Sophia consciousness called Achamoth, which is synonymous with the fallen goddess and dark alien mother that exists within the human collective consciousness. Hence, with the importance of this knowledge, the Essenes, Christos Templars on earth worship the female aspect of Christos Sophia as God's body of wisdom, as this was of sole importance to heal her, heal the timelines and the earth body. 1.
So this is why we, as the true Essenes, Christos Templars, this is why we fight with knowledge and wisdom, because we know that part of healing, Mother Kratos, this part of healing her Sophic, uh, feminine energy is only with knowledge and wisdom can we heal. So I'm trying to get a lot of women to understand that, you're a woman, right? Female is a energy inside the body, just like masculine is an energy inside the body. And you hold masculine and feminine energy, just like a man holds masculine and feminine energy, right? But the feminine energy inside men and women has been manipulated. So it's a manipulative on feminine energy, right? And it's not to take any power away, it's to give you back your power, right? So through knowledge, right, we have found that this is a great way of healing throughout the timelines, right? But they're trying to use trauma bonding, triggering events, so on and so forth, to keep you from healing and keep on building these different houses of ego, pride, and all these other things, So that's why I continue to try to bring knowledge, wisdom to the table with different variations of understanding or different variations of ways of trying to point it out, right? And we'll continue to do this as we move forward with this. You'll notice um, um, you'll start noticing certain things too, because all I got to do is put it in your mind. The universe inside you is going to do the rest. But this is why this is important. This is why the areas of Iraq and Iran is being used right now. And like I said, everything I point out from here on out will be of real time. Like you'll see this operation in real time once you start opening up your eyes to it. So
Effectively, the war over consciousness in our universal time matrix is between the lunar consciousness, finite parasitic forms, and solar consciousness, eternal light forms, that are engaged in conflicts to gain control over the human soul's future timelines on the Earth during the ascension cycle. The lunar is fighting for access to the genetic material in human bodies that they can use for colonization, life extension, alien hybridization, and slave labor. Thus, lunar forces, also called moon chain entities, have generated artificial false mother energy currents which have been utilized to run sexual misery mind control programming to promote the archontic deception strategies that are used for enforcing human consciousness enslavement. These are collective consciousness archetypal forces that have been inserted into our planetary grid network and thus embedded in human consciousness to generate sexual distortions and gender reversals. See lunar female demonic forces. Wounded goddess. The phantom energy generated from the exploded planet Tiamat is used to power up reversal female archetypes on our planet, used by the moon chain forces to propagate the mind control archetypes such as the princess code. Tiamat is the collective consciousness of the dark goddess, wounded, trapped and enslaved, the abused and traumatized female archetype which inverted into the satanic forces embedded into the holographic architecture of the collective consciousness. The source of reversal female and lunar consciousness used to currently distort women and the female principle which forms into dark mother on the planet. Tiamat was a planet in our solar system that exploded into bits and is congealed into a phantom body running artificial timelines. The ancient unhealed pain of Tiamat is part of the construct used as a phantom system to artificially inflict these painful memories and its sexual misery upon the human race. They squirreled parts of her wounded body bits in 2D, and used her consciousness to move in and out of time portals. To keep this pain hidden and the female enslaved, the controllers keep excessive war and misogyny circulated in the previous areas of Eden, in the areas of Iraq and Iran. 3.
So this is why you see a heavy dose of this misery program. And when you see, like, when it says like it's in the wounded body bits of the 2D, the 2D is your sacral chakra, right? Yeah, your sacral chakra, root chakra, sacral chakra. All right, yeah, your sacral chakra. So your sacral chakra is, that area, pelvic area. This is where you're multi-dimensional at, right? So if you look at the parts of the body that makes us multi-dimensional, you will see it is the genital areas, so on and so forth. So this is why you see, the programming of, anal sex, whatever. We can't get into all that. I'm sorry. We can't get into all of that. Maybe we'll do a group in the Discord and we can get into all of that in the group in the Discord, but I don't think we can get into all of that on a panel. You guys know how this go. Certain things are talked about, certain things are not. But in the meantime, in between time, remember that, you are great. You know what I mean? Love is love. Namaste, Ashe, salutations, salam. If nobody told you that they love you today, let me be the first but not the last to tell you that I love you. And just remember, like, one's image of oneself should be higher than reality. Okay? So you should think highly of yourself. No one's going to think highly of you if you don't think highly of yourself. Choose to love yourself. Happiness is a choice. Happiness is not something that you find. No one's going to bring you happiness. Ain't nobody's about to walk through the front door with your happiness. You have to just choose happiness. Beyond anything else, choose happiness. Try to find gratitude in the world, no matter what's going on in the world, and choose happiness.
Why do you deny me? You chose the lie created for you just to hide in. Why obsessed about surviving? Fighting over creation made for all to thrive in. When love speaks, you say you're listening. I wonder if you hear me. Love is love, love is love. Always is, always was, will always be just love. Always complete, always enough. Love is love, love is love. Always is, always was, will always be just love. Always complete, always enough. Love is love. Was your heart ever my home? So cold that chaos sits on your throne. Stuck in a loop for how long? Your pride convinced the right is wrong. When I speak, you say you're listening. When will you ever hear me? Love is love, love is love. Always is, always was, will always be just love. Always complete, always enough. Love is love, love is love. Always is, always was, will always be just love. Always complete, always enough. Love is love. Was your heart ever my home? So cold that chaos sits on your throne. Stuck in a loop for how long? Your pride convinced that right is wrong. When I speak, you say you're listening. When will you ever hear me? Love is love, love is love. Always is, always was, will always be just love. Always complete, always
Hey, I love y'all. You know, I don't think we hear it enough.
Speak to my soul, speak to my soul. Speak to my soul, speak to my soul. Wake up to the take up. Time for a shake up. Everything is changing.